I could have sworn these guys said 6 p.m. Pacific, I think, and no one's here. Kim, I don't know what's going on. These guys said 6 p.m. Pacific, and neither one of them are here. I don't know. They told me they said go on at 6 p.m. I mean, I'll wait a little bit longer, but maybe they forgot, or I don't know. Guys, is anybody here?
All retro gamers.
Calling all retro gamers!
Calling all retro gamers!
Calling all retro gamers!
There you are.
Hey. Sorry we're late.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Calling All Retro Gamers. I'm, of course, one of your hosts, Rich Haywood here from Bacon Ice Cream Productions, Team Art CFC. Over here, we got at RetroKillDashNine.
Yeah.
And, of course, our special guest, Retro Ralph. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Thanks
so much for having me.
Yes.
Thanks for, doing us a solid and starting the show off right.
Of course, yeah. I was like, where are these guys?
yes, man. Yeah, we're gonna get into things and all that kind of good stuff. And throughout the show, just to prepare Ralph, things like this might happen. We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
I'm in the right place then. This is awesome.
Nice.
Just for you. Oh yeah, so it's been a little while in the making. I know. It's kind of funny. We're like trying to coordinate different times and all kinds of craziness. Yeah, so happy we finally worked this out. And
I'm the worst at scheduling, by the way. So I felt really bad because I was like, oh crap, I just booked myself twice, and I don't usually do like. I'm having a hard time doing my own shows. So I was like, but I don't know. I haven't had the motivation to live stream lately. So I was like, maybe if people, if someone does ask, of course, I'll say yes. It'd be fun to actually be the one on the other side of it, And then when you asked, I was like, oh my gosh, of course. But I messed up. And I felt really bad because I was like, cool.
Heck yeah.
But I'm here now, so it's good.
There we go.
That's it. So, all right, awesome. So let's say hi to the chat a little bit.
Hey, who do we got here?
Ian Hobbies, he's in here.
Yeah.
Hey, Ian.
Ralph, what's going on? He's very happy to be here. He's also very happy to say.
Nine. I know how to do it.
I gotta do the thing. Yeah, let me do the thing. Oh, that's right.
Do
I
it
don't
right?
think Ralph has seen this one. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that I have this, since I wouldn't be able to do it with my voice. But all right, Ian, I've been summoned. So
Yeah, just
I do not do it as good as you.
And you know what's funny? And I swear this wasn't planned. That's funny how that has the Wayne's World hat and then the Wayne's World in the beginning. Ooh.
That was pretty good. Oh, you got TV's Hasselhoff. Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
What's going on, man?
Don't hassle the Hoff.
That's it. So it's all it's good. It's good. We got the chat rocking already. We got an awesome show for you. We got some really cool topics. You're gonna be hanging out and chatting about a whole bunch of stuff. But we as we do have a special guest, we always like to do a little intro and chat. Get to know our guest a little more, ask a couple questions, and of course ask a special question that we ask every single guest.
Oh.
And we'll get to that.
We will get to that. We will get to that later. But as far as this goes, in case someone in the chat does not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, your channel, and what you do.
Yeah, so I've always been sort of an arcade enthusiast, and I think like everybody, especially if you grew up in like the 80s, there was always like arcades around, and they'd show up in TV shows and movies, and it had always been kind of a dream to have a home arcade, because who wouldn't want that? But it just always seemed like an unattainable thing. So I always like explored it through MAME and things like that. So it's always really been a hobby of mine to figure out how to play arcade games at home. And then in 2018, when the Arcade 1-Up product came out, it was kind of like I had hoarded arcade parts for a long time. Like I would buy stuff, thinking one day I might actually use it for something. And a buddy of mine, I was like, hey, do you think people would think it's interesting if I made one of these like something else, like put real arcade hardware in it. He's like, I think people would be into that. And so I don't know, that's like how the channel started in 2018. And then but I wasn't, it's like I didn't really like the Arcade 1-Up product, but it was like a cool I don't know, it was like an open, it was like a clean slate or a canvas that you could turn into whatever you wanted. And you didn't have to go out and spend like thousands of dollars. It was like $2.99. So yeah, I started the YouTube channel like that, and it kind of, I think it just became really popular really quick. And so it was like one of those, I got kind of lucky, you know, because it just happened to be a hot trending topic. And the thing is, now I'm covering like more traditional arcades, and that's definitely not a trending topic, but Arcade 1-Up helps bring people, because I think there's that curiosity factor that people have. They go, oh, well, if I can get into this, maybe I want to, you know, like any hobby, you kind of have like levels of it. Like someone gets into console gaming and then they're like, oh, I'd really love to RGB mod my console so it looks the best it can possibly look. And now I want to buy a PVM. And not everyone does that, but some people are like, oh, it can look better. Oh, I want to do that. So it's like levels of the hobby, you know, so you like progress through it. But yeah, it was super fun. And when I started seeing like people actually respond positively, it was like, wow, this is actually something people like. So I think that fuels you, right? When people are into what you're doing, like the Evercade's got a fan base, and I'm sure that fan base helps fuel you know, Ed, your like interest in it, right? Like you get more excited as other people get excited because you share that passion. So it just became really cool. I loved sharing the passion for it, and I don't know how, but it's like 3 years seems like a long time, and it's going to be 4 in December. But I'm definitely feeling a little bit of the YouTube fatigue though at this point. Like I have to be honest there. It's a lot to consistently, and you guys know, to consistently pump out content. It takes a lot on you and time away from family and stuff, but super fun.
It is. Yeah. So let's so 2018. So let's fast forward 2 years. So I discovered you in 2020, and
okay.
I was searching for how I found you is I was searching for something specific on YouTube. I don't want to tell you what it is because you're gonna remember this. So it's a minute. It's like a minute that I cut together from a live stream, like 2 parts, and you're gonna know exactly what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and just
is it
play
from
it here
2020?
In 2020, yeah.
Oh wow, okay. I
was able. I was worried that like I wasn't able to find it. So yeah, that's when I discovered you. So we're gonna go ahead and play this real quick, and then we're gonna talk about it.
Doesn't like the capture card. Let's see. Let's go back, see if we're okay. We're still out of luck here. Come on, man. Don't do this to me in the middle of a stream. Don't do this to me. Yeah, your super chat, so it's breaking my stream. I rehearsed this a couple times just going through it, and it was working just fine. It's just what happens when you do a live stream. All right, there we go. Okay, no idea why that fixed it, but whatever. Stuff. All right. Oh, wow. It's got a JAMA board? What the hell? Okay, I was not expecting that. Okay. That's cool. I did not expect it to be a JAMA board. Dude, that's pretty neat. What the hell? I did not expect that at all. Now I want to go and put it in an arcade. That's cool. Put the Games Connect in it. That's pretty freaking bitchin', dude.
Yeah.
Well, that is going back. That's like deep tracks right there.
Yeah. So it was at the time when like, you know, people were talking about like the Neo Geo, like MSX and all that. And then I had heard of this like off like brand like Unico. And I was just, you know, just kind of curious to see how it was. And I typed it and you came up. And I think I kind of tuned in like a part of that where you know, and I thought it was great how you're just kind of like testing stuff out, and you were like very humble, which I love that. And then your excitement when you open it up, and then you go deep, you're like, we're wanting to take off the heat sink. But yeah, man, that's one of the things I love about you is you're honest. You'll talk about your personal life. You're very humble. You're a real human being, and it's just, yeah, that's kind of how I discovered you, and it's great. And I think too that we all get entertained sometimes, you know, when things go wrong on your stream. But it's fun though, and you're so awesome and humble, and you make it entertaining. That's what's so great. But yeah, that's
Thanks,
how I
man.
found you.
There's actually people that will say, they're like, man, I love it when something breaks during your live stream, because you kind of get pissed off, but you're kind of funny when you're mad. And I was like, Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what, there's nothing you can do, right? When you're live and something goes wrong, you just have to be like, all right, well, you kind of have to laugh it off because there's nothing you could do about it, really. So, no, that's cool. That product was weird too, because I remember after I bought it, like you couldn't get it. And so people would message me and be like, how do you have this? I was like, I don't know. I just went to the site. Like they thought it was given to me or something. And I was like, no, I literally just went and bought it. Like it doesn't exist anymore. It was off the website. And I think now that they sell it again. But yeah, that was a weird little product because it was supposed to have online connectivity and that part of it didn't really ever get enabled. So it's almost like they built it, but never quite supported it. So yeah, it was an interesting thing. But I was so excited when I opened it up and I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect that. So
yeah. But it's fun, man. Like I love how. Trying to remember, I don't know if it was the Christmas stream or whatever, but like you went ahead and you called you called your wife and you put it up on the speaker and she's like, I'm sitting here on the couch waiting. But it was just funny. I love the dynamic of how y'all like joke around and you're like, guys, I got a meeting here in 2 minutes. Like it cracks me up. I love that honesty. I mean, it's just like you are your authentic self, and it's entertaining. So here's a fun fact about that. So like normally when I watch YouTube and whatnot, like my wife tolerates it, but she doesn't really watch it. But except like if you come on, she'll actually tolerate that because she's like, wow, she's like, this guy actually has a radio voice. He's somewhat entertaining, he's and I swear to you, she's like, yeah, he's good looking, and all, it's kind of funny. Which that's the one thing that I don't know if you realize that's a difficult skill is you can come on to Coffee Talk and just be yourself without anyone else, just be entertaining for an hour. Like it's difficult to riff and do that, and it's just. It's just like amazing, like when you do your mom's voice, like Howard Stern, and it's and people pick up on that, and so it's great how you have this community of just different people, and everyone has a passion for arcades, and that's why I like to watch it because a lot of these things are expensive and difficult to find, but I love how you go after things, you seek things. Do I dare say you chase nostalgia? It's really fun to watch somebody who has a passion. And speaking of which, I know I'm all over the place, but I think I've showed you this clip. It might have been I think it was maybe when you were fixing the Killer Instinct, but I often will use this sometimes in my videos. It's just a quick few seconds.
Oh yeah.
Like that look that you do at the end. Yeah, I love that. Maybe I need to get more Ralph clips, but it's just
I get really excited for power tools because I have no idea what I'm doing with them at all. It's just the whole like noise of them. I feel like they sound like dirt bikes or something. I don't know. I hope at least this comes through. Sometimes I literally have no idea what I'm doing, but I hope that people I try to make people very aware that I don't really know what I'm doing sometimes, because then I hope that people go, oh, well, I can do this too. Or I can, because I mean, it was only 2 years ago that really I truly got into the inside of an arcade machine, like a monitor and stuff. So anybody can learn anything. You just have to be like, patient, do research, and I learn stuff new all the time. And I think that's the thing is, I think I had watched a lot of YouTube channels where I thought the people were like somehow these super experts, but I think sometimes they maybe weren't as honest about what they knew. Maybe, like they like acted like they were born with that knowledge, and it's like, well, no one's really born with any of this. You have to kind of learn it as you go with anything. So
exactly, and it comes across. I love when you do different projects. You're like, hey, here's what I tried. This, it's fun. It'd be kind of like, hey, if we were there with you in the basement, you're like, hey guys, want to mess around with some stuff? Let's fix it. It's awesome. And that's the other thing that I like too, is that sometimes there's some, in different community, there's some people that are too much purists. So I like that it's like, you're like, hey, I don't really care what you play, what you play on, but at the same time, don't hack up a good working arcade to throw a pie in it. Like, I love that. Like, you're all about video game preservations, but at the same time, if somebody doesn't have the means, or if they couldn't get a CRT, you're like, yeah, throw whatever in it. But if it has a good CRT, keep it, and that's
I mean,
it's a great attitude to have, man. It's just, it's
there's too much. There's too much negative, awesome. Man. It's you have to do that. That's why I love what you do with the whole. You're very excited about the Evercade stuff, and I've told you this before in comments. I said, I really appreciate when people can be positive, because it's just too much. I mean, yeah, of course, everyone's gonna have bad days, right? Like, not everyone's gonna be happy 24/7. But I just think there's just I never really got the attitude that some people have with gaming, where they just get like, I don't know, they'll like attack other people that have different philosophies. It's like, you can just disagree with it. Like, I don't really love when someone hacks up an original arcade, but I'm not going to go to their house and beat him up, you know. Like, you know what you did, and like, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, it's interesting because for me, like, I've talked about like YouTube is my therapy and all that. So like, who I am here is a more positive version of more positive version of myself, because we think there's too much negativity in real life, and I don't get why sometimes people go on YouTube and talk trash. So it's like, yeah, when you have a passion as a community and people like it, yeah, it gets you all fired up and all that. So
yeah. And sometimes, and I'm sure it's happened to all of us, but sometimes stuff finds a way of finding you, like negative finds a way of finding you, and you just have to figure out how to navigate around that. And I screwed that up many times in the beginning, where I would be like, oh, well, if someone's gonna attack me, I'm gonna attack them back. And it's like, that whole like, it makes you feel like, why would someone come into my house and attack me? And but you just have to let that roll off your back. But I definitely messed that up a few times in the beginning, where you kind of like, you're almost as bad as them for doing it back sometimes. It's like, but that's not easy to do, because we're human, and sometimes you can have 100 good comments and one bad comment can like ruin your day.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, try to kill them with kindness. Like, I've actually had some people say so I think one said like, your voice is weird, and I'm like, well, thank you. It's my voice. How would you like me to sound? Hey, thanks for commenting. I never heard anything.
Let me work on that.
Yeah.
I had a comment once where someone said, you have a dumb face. And I went, I can't really change it. So like, I guess I have a dumb face. I don't know. Like, it made me laugh though. I'm like, that's a wicked messed up thing to say to someone, but okay.
So the thing too, that I think, which is awesome about you, Ralph, is that I love like how you'll read people's comments, you recognize comments, even if they're not super chats. And so, I think it's especially that's why I love watching you live. Like, you're very interactive, because I know like a lot of YouTubers, they kind of forget, and maybe they only select people's comments, but you don't care. You're just like, hey, you're cool. I love that. Again, I feel like when I watch your videos or when like we're just like hanging out, and when you do like your live videos, like a Galloping Ghosts, it really did feel like, hey, like you're just like hanging out with one of the guys, and it's just, you make it a fun interactive experience. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's what I try to do. So I'm glad that it comes across that way, because sometimes I think you don't. There's definitely times where I think I've gone up and down where I forgot what. Did something just go off? Oh, okay. Thank God. I was like, oh no, did one die behind me? Because that's happened before.
Happened.
Yeah. So there's, I think it goes up and down. Like, I think when you do this, and I'm not saying I've done it for that long, but it'll be almost 4 years in December. But I've had like ups and downs where I've felt like I was doing the content that someone else was telling me to do versus what I loved doing. And then I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, and this might sound negative, but I'm like, I'm not going to be Mr. Beast, and I'm not going to be Metal Jesus Rocks, because I just don't think that's possible now. And maybe I should think that I can, but I don't anymore. But I'm like, it's fun to just do things you love to do, because naturally that's going to attract people. And I know it's hard, because sometimes you get influenced by other outside forces, like when I know I hated them, and I did the whole pool bit and everything, but I actually had interactions with them that made me feel a certain kind of way about the company, not necessarily the products. And, they were kind of like telling me what I should do, like what I should film. And I was like, well, that's not fun. Like, I don't want you to tell me what videos to make. Like, I want to make the videos I want to make, but I did that. And so then I started not having as much fun with it. So I think as long as you're doing what you love to do on it, maybe it's not going to get the most views, maybe it's not going to get the most subscribers, but if you're having fun, then you're going to attract other people that can see that. And I think that's you have to always kind of remember that, I think, because when you go away from that, then I think you're not having fun with it anymore.
Welcome to Call of Retro Gamers. I mean, literally, me and Rich created this channel for an excuse for us to like talk video games and stuff every 2 weeks. Literally, that's the whole. That's the whole reason.
The whole idea of the channel is just get cool people to talk about cool games, and that's it.
That's awesome.
And we just set it up so we just have an ongoing list of topics, and we can just come in live, and and all that. So speaking of which, and I know we'll dive into other topics, but talking about passion and stuff, that's what I thought was one thing that was interesting. Is that I'm like, no, I know initially, you started Arcade Pickers. Can't remember the gentleman's name, and then you realized, hey, Corey, I want I want to be more about the games and the passion. I don't want this to be about the deals and be about to be, sticky. Sometimes it can be difficult, but you're just like, hey, you go your own way, I'll go my way. And I think it was awesome that you wanted your passion, because, like chasing nostalgia is awesome. Like when you watch that, it looks like something like a production quality that you'd see like on TV, and it comes off really well. And you know,
Thanks. Yeah, I mean,
it's I'm so
honestly,
happy you did that. It's awesome.
it was really fun, that show, but I'd start like, when, well, at least this might be just me. When I get uncomfortable, I might look normal, but I'm like sweating. I'm like uncomfortable. And when we'd get to the deal parts, like I would prolong it. He'd come over to me and be like, "Hey, we have to record doing some deals." I was like, "I don't really want to." Like I didn't want to. I'm like, "I don't want to." I didn't like the pressure cuz like, you're buying someone's, because we never pre-negotiated anything. So I'm like, well, what if I offend him with my offer? Then I never liked that part, but I'm not a haggler in real life. Like if I go to buy a car and they're like, "Here's the price," I'm like, "Okay." And my wife's like, "You don't just say okay at the first price." I'm just not good. Like she's like, they play the game. Like he's gonna go back and talk to like his boss, which who knows who that is. It could be like the Claw from Inspector Gadget. Who knows? Because you never see the guy's face. So it's like, yeah, I'm not that good under those circumstances. So I didn't really, as much as I liked the show, I felt uncomfortable filming it. So I was like, well, if I keep doing this, I'm just putting myself in an uncomfortable situation. So it's unfortunate, but he still does the show, so it's
Well,
it's all good.
yeah, Junior, and I think Mason's a great partner to have, and so you guys work
my gosh,
well
he's
together,
awesome.
and the whole thing with like the bat and the and the B&B, and like I'm so glad you guys released. So Rich, to make a long story short, I don't know yet. They rented a B&B and they had like a bat come in the hallway, and they were both like really scared, and it was, well, maybe Ralph was more scared, but anyways, it was
That's fine. That's awesome.
it was
Well, but he legitimately, all that stuff, he legit broke that bed, and I didn't know any of that. So he's really good at like, I mean, he knew that I would react in a certain kind of way because he knows me. So he had the camera all set up, and when I came in, he said, "Hey, walk upstairs." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Just come upstairs." He's like, "But don't look forward, just look like normal." I was like, "Well, why can't I look forward?" He's like, just come upstairs." And then he had that conversation about I broke the bed, and then I look and I'm like, "What the hell? You broke a bed? And how old are you? What did you do to the bed?" And he's like, "I jumped on it." I'm like,
and I couldn't believe it. And that came off like so honest and sincere. I was actually, that's what was great. I was like, wow, you guys kind of kept this B-roll in. You're like, that's awesome. Like you could totally tell
really
it wasn't
funny,
planned
actually.
that he really broke the bed.
And we fixed it with a pan. So like the IKEA beds will have the cross beam at the bottom.
Yeah.
There was like a pan in the pantry or in the kitchen that butted up right against it. I'm like, dude, we're gonna fix it with a pan. But the funny thing is I think we would have gotten in trouble for the broken bed if it wasn't for the bat, because they were like, "We'll comp your whole stay," and I was like, "But if we broke the bed, then maybe we could just call it square, right?" So it's funny.
That's
Oh
cool.
man, that was good times.
Good stuff. All right, Rich. Why don't you go ahead and ask? Why don't you ask the question?
All right, cool. So yes, so every special guest that we have, we ask them one question, and that one question is, what game defines you? Now,
That's easy.
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like what's your favorite game or like what game you play all the time. It's the game that actually like is like it transports you to a period in time where like, yes, this is where I fell in love with gaming, or this is that moment that attaches me to this cool hobby.
Okay, so obviously I had I'm trying to think of like what my first so I had like an Atari 2600, and like as far as consoles, my first like actual console I ever played games on was an Atari 2600.
Yep.
And I loved that. I had so much fun with that. The neighbor had like the one, what was the one that was huge in between? It's the 5700, right? He had the big giant.
The one with the crazy controller.
Yeah, it was like, but it was like 10 times the size of a normal Atari. So he had that. And so like console gaming was always a thing. And then I got an NES, and we all flipped out because the NES was crazy cool. Mm-hmm. But the one, I always loved music. So the one game that I like put in and I was like, holy crap, this is so epic. Like the music was so epic. I was like, this is awesome. And I think sometimes I played it more to hear the soundtrack of the game than the game itself, even though I love the game, was Streets of Rage. So like that whole series became, I don't know, I just love this idea that you could like press this button and this buddy of yours would come rolling in and just shoot his rocket launcher and kill everyone. Like it just seemed so unrealistic, but like there's moments in your life where you're like, man, I wish I had a superpower right now. So I just always loved games that gave you the ability to do something you could never do in real life, which is mostly every game. But I just feel like it was, I don't know, it was that. And at that same time, I want to say I would have been in the arcade, and I remember playing X-Men and oh crap, why can't I think of the character? What character does I can't think of the character.
Oh.
It's
Which
like on the top. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of that?
I know, like I just like forgot all the characters that.
Anyways, but yeah, it'd definitely be Streets of Rage, but it was the
wasn't
music
it Colossus?
itself. Yeah, Colossus. It is. It's Colossus. Yeah, it's just when I remember being in the arcade and like just him doing that noise, like his special was so cool. But it obviously that was much better graphics than what you had at home. But yeah, it was something about Streets of Rage that I just always went back to too. I loved it. I loved the soundtrack. Now I wish back then, if they back then had like the ability to play the soundtrack at home, like I would have listened to it over and over probably. Like there was no such thing as like here's a CD with the soundtrack on it yet. I don't think at least. So yeah, that was just such a fun game for me.
Nice.
I loved it.
And I know what you mean. That moment where you use a special ability and the bazooka, and they have like that cool like funky techno music, and that's just awesome. I think for that reason alone, that's like I think maybe the first one is my favorite. I know the second one is really good, but just for that nostalgia.
Oh yeah, part of it and then just like the opening sequence, like with the city flying by, and then they all come forward. It was just something about that game that was so cool. And then I didn't realize until way later. I remember when like this is way later, probably like 20 something years later, maybe longer. I remember going on YouTube and seeing now his name is gonna escape me too. Kashiro. I can't think of his first name, but the composer of all that music. It was like a video that I came across because I was Googling something about Streets of Rage, and it was all of a sudden like they're in a theater and there's all these people and the lights go super low and you hear the intro music to Streets of Rage and all the crowd was going absolutely nuts because they were playing it live on stage. And I was like, man, I didn't realize that there's that many people that have this like love for not only the music but the game too. It just made me feel like, wow, sometimes before all this, like before we had YouTube and all these things, like we kind of had our hobby by ourselves and maybe our friends that we enjoyed it with, but never really realized like how many people also enjoy the same things that you do.
Yeah, so no kidding.
It's pretty cool. Very cool.
That's awesome. And I think too around the time, like, Super Nintendo had like Final Fight, but they didn't have all the characters and and here's Streets of Rage, like it was its own original, like awesome beat 'em up that had never been in the arcade, and it was its own like cool first party thing. And
And a Final Fight, actually, the funny thing is about Final Fight is so we had like one friend that had, I don't want to call him rich, but they definitely like if there was a new cool thing, like he would have it. And like they were very well off. So like they would always have the cool thing. And I remember he got the Sega CD. And I remember going over and his older brother was playing like the Marky Mark game, and I was like, what is this? Is this even a game? Right. But it was like weird at the time. I just thought it was cool because you're just watching video on your, video game. A game system couldn't do that before. But I remember he had Final Fight CD and I was like, whoa, because the soundtrack was super cool on Final Fight CD. Like they retooled it and made it like very, they used real instruments and stuff. So yeah, Final Fight pulls on my heartstrings too a little bit. But then so does every Sega game, like Altered Beast and Final Fight and Golden Axe. Like I'm kind of a big time Sega. Yes. I don't know. I think Sega infiltrated the arcade so that it infiltrated my brain.
Funny that you mentioned that. And the one thing I know you talk about a lot, like how, certain arcade games, like you just can't play them in your home because they're different. So like for me, like I know like everyone wants like an arcade one up of like Daytona USA and all that. But like, for me, that's one of those games that just like that's my go-to, and I'll always play that in the arcade. Like you couldn't replicate that in the home because you sit in there, you've got the speakers, everything vibrates, and the steering wheel. And I think
100%.
What sucked me into that driving game more than anything is most like racing games, you start off and it goes, and then you go. But this game, like you're already coming out of the cockpit, so you feel like you feel like you're like a drive in the middle of a race, and and I was like,
like there's intensity there,
like on T2, like how you have like the guns and everything is unique, and after like watching your videos and seeing more of the uniqueness, I didn't notice. I'm like, there's no way that you could replicate that. It's like maybe if you had never played it, it'd be good. So yeah, there's certain things you can bring home, but it's it's like going to a rock concert in real life, like feeling the crowd and everything. Sure, you can do a VR experience, but it's not the same.
Or watching a movie, even with like a decent setup, like going to watch a movie in the movie theater that's like maybe a title that you really love or a series you really love, and then watching it at home. Like, of course, still at home, it's not a bad experience, but the experience of watching it, like if it's like a superhero movie or something and you watch it in IMAX, you're like, holy, like it's information overload, but it's so fun, it adds so many more elements to it. It's not that it's not fun at home, it's just different. Like it's not, I don't know, but you're totally right on the arcade game thing. There are some that translate. Like I feel like a game like Pac-Man, it's pretty simple. There wasn't like anything all that or like different about the cabinet. So like those games can translate to like a home experience. But like T2, I just always stayed close to that one. So I kind of like, and someone else was telling me this, like, but I don't remember. And I think that's true though. Sometimes you play a game and you don't remember like how cool it was. Like, I don't know if you guys ever remember playing, I think it's super off-road. But like, it had like the 3 steering wheels. But it had like the mechanics of the way the wheel interfaced with the game simulated like that muddiness of the track. And if you try to do it in MAME, if you try to do it in MAME, like you need to tune the crap out of it to even get it close. And so I remember being like, oh, this game sucks, thinking like maybe it sucked then and I just didn't know it. And then more recently I played it at a conference and I was like, no, this game's actually pretty awesome. It's just you really need the real controls to get that experience right. So that's one that I think 1UP will do that one, by the way. Hopefully they do it right, but I think they'll do it.
They'll do off-road.
I think they will, because I think they have a lot of those licenses. I think they'll do like a collaboration one with like Super Sprint and Off-Road and Badlands and all those games that were kind of similar. I think they will do that eventually.
That'd be neat.
Yeah, Did I say Super Sprint? Sprint Championship Sprint. Yeah, all those.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, but it's like that, and some of those other driving games out there, like Hard Driving, for example, is my favorite arcade game of all time.
I was waiting for you to mention that.
and like you can't replicate that at home. And believe me, I've tried. I've went down the main rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's hard.
An entire machine just so I could hand tune every single control so I can sort of play the game, and it's just not. It's just not the same.
I know it.
But once you get in that cabinet, though, it doesn't matter for me. It could be the sit down one, it could be the full cab. You get in there, you turn the key, and it's like,
And I think some games, and I feel like sometimes people take me the wrong way when I say this, and I don't mean, I really do mean that some games just don't. It's really hard for someone, and that someone that's trying to sell you an at-home, more budget-friendly arcade to get that right, because there's just too many things that you have to factor in. Even it's something as simple as like the quality of the wheel. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the way it spins, does it spin freely, or does it? So there's just if you went down that path, it's like really hard to get things right with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or even the music, because I know a lot of people are looking at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Cowabunga collection, but when I had heard that they'd stripped out like the main theme. Like for me, that would kill nostalgia for me. Like I couldn't imagine any other theme starting up any of the versions of those games. I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, I would just.
Did they strip out the main theme?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's completely gone.
Yeah, they couldn't get the light. I think they said at least for the arcade and the Super Nintendo, and they also took out like Pizza Hut, which that I could live with. I know like Crazy Taxi, they had to kind of do some stuff.
Yeah.
So, they took out the main thing. Yeah. Mad Little Pixel did a video on the differences, and he's like, they took out the theme, and
that they would do something like that, because
I wonder why they didn't go the arcade 1UP route. They had like another band record it. Remember for the one they released? Did you know that?
Oh, that's
no,
right.
Actually.
So for the TMNT, that arcade, for the first arcade game, the one that had like the NES port, the arcade game the first one, they had someone re-record it. So if you listen close to it, it's different. But that they got around it that way. They were like, hey, we'll just re-record it with someone that sounds as close to it as we can. And so many people complained about it when it happened. Oh my gosh, everyone's like, this thing's trash. I can't believe it. And 1UP was like, because obviously I went back and asked the question. They're like, well, look, we would have done it if we could have. It just was a licensing issue. Like we couldn't actually do it. So we did what we could. But to strip it out completely, like if you listened closely, you'd be like, okay, this isn't the original. But to strip it out completely kind of sucks. So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Well, it would definitely affect my decision as to like whether or not I'm jumping in on that, because it's like you don't want to get another you don't want to get a collection like that at that even at that price point, and then put it in and be like, let me just start the game, and then it's like you're getting like new music. It's just like a jar.
Like you mentioned Crazy Taxi. Imagine on the first level of Crazy Taxi if you didn't hear yeah. Like that'd be so weird. I'd feel like I was playing a different game. Like that you like remember the music. Like that's so part of the nostalgia. If you get rid of the music, you kind of kill the nostalgia, in my opinion. It's like all of those things need to be there.
And in the mobile version, which actually isn't too bad, like it plays pretty well on your phone. I want to say they kept most of the songs. They had to take out like Pizza Hut and like KFC, whatever. But that's I can
live with that too. Yeah, I can live with that too.
yeah. But yeah, music is like the music itself is just important. Because funny enough, like Rich was doing a video the other day on Dragonfire, for Intellivision. And while it was fun to watch and all that, like for me, like for the 2600, that's like my favorite game. And there were just like certain sounds and certain things that were like different enough that I'd rather have like the lesser graphical version. So yeah.
Yeah. No. Totally.
I totally feel you on that. Hopefully I'm not totally losing my voice, but I'm trying.
No, you're doing good, man. You're hanging in there. You got the tea.
It doesn't, for those watching, it doesn't hurt, by the way. So that's
he's not in pain.
No.
What would I really say if I was? No.
No, wait a minute.
Oh no.
If you're in trouble, like scratch your nose or something. Oh no. Speaking of really quick, I know this is off topic. Did you guys see that Twitch streamer thing that was going around where the girl's cooking in her kitchen and it catches fire? Did you think? So I'm under the impression that that's actually real. There are people that are trying to say it's fake.
That seemed like a real fire.
When she was going out to the hallway, that seemed like a real cry for help. Like, please, I have no idea what to do.
Yeah. Well, the look of shock on her face when she took the pan and put it into the sink, which is, there was clearly oil in that pan.
Yeah,
that was on fire, because she puts it in the sink and the sink just lights up, because that's not what you do to get that under control. And then she puts it right back on the stove, and she's just looking at it dumbfounded. She's like, I don't know what to do.
I was thinking to myself, nuts. I'm like, it was so close to the like bottom part of the microwave. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna catch her, like the bottom of that on fire. But luckily, maybe it was like metal, or I don't know how it didn't catch fire. But I was like, wow, that's
kind of grate or something on there, some aluminum.
So this was my initial thoughts when I saw it.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that clip because Kim and I watch so much Family Guy, it's not even funny. So like literally when Where's Nothing to, like, we almost always default to Family Guy. Nice. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Oh man. But yeah, I know that was crazy. I didn't actually get to see what the resolution was. Like, hopefully she took side or something, or like I don't know where she, like, or
because whoever clip grabbed it, like, just left you hanging. It was like, oh well, hope she's okay. Like it didn't like, oh,
just giving us
the rest.
The internet is laughing at this poor lady, and then like like tomorrow's headline is like, the house burns down or something. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, I'm all, oh no. It's awesome.
Oh, man. That was crazy. But yeah, so why don't we get into a couple of our topics? So
for sure.
We're getting in maybe running a little bit, but so the first topic we have for tonight is modding regret stories. So this was, I believe, one of your topics, and so you want to give one of the definitions there, like like what specific modding regret story might be.
It could be something like, let's say you modified a console or an arcade, or tried to replace a screen, or I don't know, maybe tried to do something that you thought we're gonna make the device better, and it just it didn't work out, or maybe you broke it, or
Gotcha.
You know, kind of like one of those ones you're like, man, you know, I just should have left it alone. Why did I take apart this thing that I love, and now it's the, you know.
Got it. For me, I don't know if I have one of those stories because to be quite honest, most of the time when I have to get into something to either repair or fix it, I'm so nervous about everything. I am like ultra meticulous. The one thing I can remember, and this isn't necessarily a modding story, it's a more of a repair story, but a buddy of mine had an old fat PS3, had a yellow light. And we took it apart to fix the yellow light error. And we used a heat gun. And the process of actually taking it apart, we must have spent 4 hours on this thing. Taking literally every piece like perfectly out. We mapped all of the screws. We missed nothing because we were afraid, like, oh, we're gonna miss a screw, and somehow it's gonna create a short, and then your thing's not gonna turn on. So we were drawing diagrams or whatever out at this for hours and hours and hours. But I had a coffee table that had just like it was all glass, and that's what we put the main board on when we did the heat gun repair.
Oh no.
It worked out, but man, I didn't expect the table to get as hot as it did for it to transfer that much heat.
I mean,
but yeah, we had like I don't know, maybe a piece of cardboard or something like that was on the sides. So as we were heating the board, it was like, what is that smell? Like, what's going on? And like, oh, the board, like it was like dark brown, you know, the cardboard. We're like, okay, we gotta move everything off the table real quick, and then went back and did it. Table was fine. I mean, it was like, you know, like half-inch glass or whatever.
Yeah.
The table.
Yeah, like my parents will never notice or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it was my table anyway. It was, you know, like this was back in the, you know, it was about, I don't know, what was this now, 11 years ago. It was still in my house. So it was like, we were just down in the basement. We're just like, just don't tell them. We're gonna light the house on fire or something. But we did it. We got it to work, and that was like, I thought it was more of a proud moment than a regret. I think the only regret would have been, you know, like that we had cardboard around. We were just shooting things with a 500 degree heat gun. And we're like, you know, learn the transitive property of heat, guys. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
But as far as like an actual modding regret, it's more of like a psychological regret for me. I had a Nintendo Wii, and towards the end of the Nintendo Wii's life cycle, you had like the soft mod community come up in, you know, like in a big way. They're like, oh, you can just breathe life into your Wii, and you could put this little SD card in there, and it'll let you do.
Did
all
you just steal what mine was? But no, go ahead.
So I had a buddy, and he got an SD card. And he was like, oh yeah, let's clone the SD card. We'll, you know, like we'll have all these things, and we'll play it all the time. It'll be great. And then we did, and then we didn't play it at all. And it's like, wow. And then this is another couple hour thing. You go on all these websites and you get all this stuff, and you get, you know, like you get the SD cards ready, and you hook it up, and you're like, now I can play everything, and you just don't want to.
See, that's the curse of emulation. Yeah.
And I never
I
turned it on.
I totally relate to that. Yeah.
I never turned it on and never played any of those games. It sat there for a while, and then I wound up giving the Wii to my mother-in-law. Like, hey, play these games. And all she did was play Wii Sports. That was it.
That's a great story. Matter of fact, Ralph, I remember, and I think we have said this a few times. You're like, hey, I play my standalone arcades more than I do multi-cades because they're just there. You don't have to think. You can jump in a game, and I can totally relate to that because sometimes that's what I like about putting in a cart or something. Sometimes you just want to play a game. You know, you don't want to have like Netflix syndrome. Oh, hey, make Nintendo power and all that. You know, so yeah. Yeah, Rich almost stole. He almost stole. I thought you were going to tell mine verbatim.
But you're right, though. It gives you focus, I think. Well, I'm not the most focused person. Like, I get very squirrel. So for me, a multicade is almost like I just sit there and scroll through games forever. Like I might play a game, but by the time I found it, I'm like, oh crap, I only have 10 minutes because I have to go do something else or whatever. Or there's some kind of obligation. Yeah, so. That's interesting. Yeah, I totally with you on that. But yeah, so I get that. I feel that though, because I think I modded my Wii, and then I was like, oh, okay, it's modded now. And then I'm like, well, and I put like 100 games on it, and you're all right, cool. Then it kind of like, I don't know. I never played it. It was weird. It was almost like the act of putting in a disc was like, I needed that still. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it is almost exactly like that. You know, because it's like, it's not real unless I put it in.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I did with my Fire Stick. Loaded RetroArch, played everything that I wanted to play, and then after that, then it's kind of like it just feels empty and everything. So yeah, at least with every kid, I put in a cart. There's 10 or less games, and I know that's all there's going to be in that cart, and I'm excited, and I can go through and explore them, and I have like a real like booklet, and yeah, because otherwise it's daunting, man. I mean, that's like the dark side of emulation. Like, yes, I have 4 terabytes of 50 million games. Well, now what? You know.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't even have I've seen people do videos recently where they're like, if you buy this drive and you boot I can't remember what the image, it's some kind of like Linux distribution or something, and you basically like force this drive to boot up, and it boots its own operating environment, but it's like 100,000 games. I'm like, you don't even have like enough time in a lifetime to even like play that many. You know, it's like, wow, that's a lot. That stresses me out just hearing 100,000 games.
I know. Wow. Exactly. I know, right?
Yeah. The only thing in reverse that I had that was actually kind of useful was when I started doing like I do a lot of videos for Sega Master System stuff on my channel, and at the time that I was doing both of these things, I had also had a Legends Arcade Ultimate cabinet, and that thing is pretty cool. I really liked it, but while I had it, I would play like say Choplifter or Rambo or you know, or Hang On or Outrun on the Master System, play the Master System version, and then that Wednesday, that same week, I'd play the arcade version.
Yeah.
You know, and then sometimes, you know, you don't have access to it, so you know, you get your handy dandy USB key and you put it in your Legends Arcade, and then hey, you know, now you have it. But I was using it purely just to capture the footage to play the game. I was forcing myself to play a very specific game that I had access to a whole bunch of stuff on. So that was like one of those things. It was like, okay, well, there is, I guess, a use case for it. But then when it's just, oh, well, like, let me just play a game randomly, then you just stare at the screen. It's like the Netflix syndrome.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
It's like, well, what am I going to play today? I don't know. I'll just go back and play my Master System. You know, like,
dude, I would go down the rabbit hole like in RetroArch, like gotta have like all the thumbnails, gotta have everything, you know, and then maybe like one text looks out of place, and I was spending more time configuring stuff. I mean, for me, like I basically felt like I was making a deal with the devil here.
I rather think we could strike a deal.
Nice. Nice. Rigatoni here. Recently bought 2 broken PS3s. Tried to fix one by replacing the CD drive. I didn't realize you need to mod the PS3 to recognize the new CD drive. And essentially further broke them. Oh no. And now I have 2 broken PS3s. Use the spare parts will never get used. Oh
man,
I've done that stuff before.
That's rough. Yeah, I would be sad about that.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Man.
Oh, mine. So Rich, mine's real quick. So like you, I modified my Wii, and this is back then when you actually had to use like the Twilight Princess hack. And so I remember at work, the guy's like, "Hey, you know, I've got it. Hey, want to borrow it?" So I did all that, and there was like certain loaders and things you'd have to load. And then on one particular day, and keep in mind this was April 1st, and I didn't get, you know, I booted it up, and it gave some weird bogus error. And I was just like, what the heck? What's going on, man? I'm like, why did I ever do this? And then I'm like, I bricked this thing, and that's, you know, when they were still like kind of expensive. Like my wife probably going to kill me, and I wasn't thinking April 1st. And I googled the error, and it literally said, "Yeah, on April Fools, this was put in by the programmer. Just change the date on the clock." Yes. And I was like, I regret everything. Why did I do this? And I was like, oh, okay, they trolled me. It was one of those loaders. I can't remember the name, but yeah. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah. Serves me right.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Oh man, that's cool. That's very cool. All right, awesome. So what do we say we do? And what do we want? We want one more topic.
That's what I was going to ask Ralph. I was going to say, do you have time for the topic? I know I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, I have a quick modding regret.
Yeah, sure. Totally skipped you.
Totally
skipped you.
I had this idea, and this is like one of those. So when I get excited, that's good and bad, because when I get excited, sometimes my like logical side completely goes out of the window because I'm like, oh my God, I want to do this right now. And maybe I'm not equipped at that moment to do it, but I can't get the idea out of my head. So I was like, I have to do it. So I had a Smash TV arcade board, and I was like, well, it'd be really cool to run Smash TV in Total Carnage. And I had got this Total Carnage is not an easy game like the actual PCB to get. It's really hard to find, and it's kind of expensive. Not for any real reason other than I think a lot of them were destroyed. So it's like the rarity of it makes it expensive. You know, I don't know that people like when they say, what's your favorite game? They throw Total Carnage out there, but it's one of those, you know, twin stick games. So it goes well in a cabinet like Smash TV. So I was like, well, I know what I'll do. I'll get into these because they sell these things. It's basically a switcher for multiple arcade boards. So you plug them both in and you can switch back and forth. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. Now I knew that the switcher I bought wasn't the best one. And I also knew that maybe I didn't do ample research on this switcher. So I put it all in, and I kind of was winging it. I wasn't really like reading instructions. And so I put it in, and I'm like, all right, well, how do you switch back and forth to games? I look on the manual. It's like, well, it wasn't even a manual. It was like a website. And it's like, all right, press player 1 and player 2. And I did it, and it bounced back. I'm like, this is awesome. Now keep in mind, like, just remember that the board is rare. so I'm like, all right, well, cool. I can play Total Carnage. That's awesome. So then I go, let me test it back and forth. I press it again, go back to Smash TV. Everything's great. I don't know why. I'm like, I'm going to press it again. So I press it again, and it goes over, and the screen's black. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on with that? So I go around back, and like the board, I'm looking at the board. I'm like, it looks fine. The indicator light's on. All of a sudden, like one of the chips, it starts like smoking a little bit. I couldn't see that it was smoking really because of the way the like garage was lit. And then I'm like, is that smoke or is it dust from the light? I was like, what is that? And then so I look at it closer, and then electronics have a way of escalating quickly when they're like burning up. So it went from just like a little bit of smoke to like, and I'm all, no. And so, but had I like, so then after it's broken, I'm feeling all remorseful. I'm like, oh my God, why'd I do that? And then I go to look at some reviews on this switcher, and it's like, yeah, this switcher is not the most reliable one. Be careful. Test all these points for voltage before you do it. And I didn't do any of that. So like I ruined something that really, like why it bothered me is I ruined something that probably, like I'm a lot about like keeping things, preserving things. I'm like, man, I just broke something that had I just taken a little bit more time, I wouldn't have. So I don't know if it's a mod necessarily, but I guess it kind of is because I was modding the arcade to be able to play two games. But
For sure.
The only other one I did that I was bummed out about is remember those Genesis mini crack sticks?
Yeah.
You guys they came out with like a stick, and it was called like meth, and you could put it in your Genesis.
Yes.
Well, you can't revert it. Like after it's there, that's it. And I made a video telling everyone, yeah, this is awesome. You can play all these games. And then I got all these messages being like, hey, how do you revert it back? I'm like, oh, I think you just take the stick out. No, it doesn't work. It basically, at least at the time, I think I don't know. I think at the time, but maybe they fixed it now. But I think that company went under for some really kind of creepy, weird reasons that we don't need to get into. But anyway,
nice.
Sorry, I went over on that one.
No.
It's all good. Oh man,
that's
a crazy story.
That's awesome. Well, not awesome that it happened, but that's a great story.
Fix it eventually.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. It's like, oh, did you ever like go and look at the board and try to see what's up with it? And
there's this guy. His name is his first name's Brad, I think, or Bruce. I can't remember his last. I can't remember, but it's either Brad or Bruce, and he's like known in the arcade community for fixing Smash TV and Total Carnage boards. It's basically the same board. And so because it's a Williams, it wasn't really Midway branded yet. I think it was still Williams, but he fixed them. So he actually said, if you send it to me, I'll take a look at it. And he fixed my Smash TV because my Smash TV was a broken one, and I sent it to him and he fixed it. I'm not really like PCB repair takes a whole other skill set. Like I can fix little things, but like I'm not one that can get in there with like an oscilloscope and figure out some of that stuff. So usually if it's to that level, I have someone else do it if I can, but
yeah.
I hear you.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know that Scarlet Sprites he used a switcher and he had to actually like modify like and cut the sides on his because it was too tight and he was getting concerned like man this PCB is fitting way too tight in here.
I had that same problem. Him and I were having a hard time finding like a harness that would actually fit it right because it's kind of you don't want it to be so tight that like if you go to take it out you could damage the thing. So I had that same issue. Him and I were like had a side thread. We're like, what are we doing? And I came across a harness that kind of worked and I think he came across one. So yeah, there's like so much, I don't know, when you're dealing with like 20, 30, I mean, same with consoles, like maybe consoles aren't as bad, but yeah, when you're dealing with old technology that gets brittle, depending on where it was stored, like you can run into issues just from the sheer fact that it's old,
Yes.
So it's crazy.
And that's what I've kind of like learned, like arcade cabinets, unless you just have more money than God and you can pay for one fully restored. There's always, going to be issues to maintain, or then you could get something like an arcade one-up, but you're probably going to have to like modify. Like, can't somebody come out with something that you just don't have to modify? That's not super expensive. That's
Yeah,
maybe it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't think it does. It's just, well, you either build it yourself or yeah, I think it's just you end up doing the DIY thing.
All right, cool. So let's see here. We got some. See if there's anything in here in the comments.
The chat buzzing.
Yeah, they're chatting amongst themselves.
Oh, so they're just ignoring us then.
Yeah.
Oh, he does mention, yeah, it was called True Blue. He's like, it's the True Blue sticks. That's right. Lloyd.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they were called. And something weird happened with that company. Like the guy that, I mean, it's not even a legit company. Like you're selling basically sticks with like a bunch of illegal ROMs, right. and you're calling them drug names. Like really, like you want to draw more attention to you. We're gonna call it crack cocaine. I'm like, maybe we'll come up with another marketing name for it.
The one thing I'm glad that those did exist, like like the mini consoles and all that, is that I guess they're trying to prove a point. Like, why didn't like Sony or Sega be like, hey guys, you could buy these legit. Add on,
no idea. That would have been cool. I would have bought them if they had legit ones. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
no idea. Even if it was like something cool, like it was like a fake disc that you put in and it like kind of read it, even though or whatever. I don't know. Use like an RFID or something. I don't know. So many creative things you could do with that stuff. They never go like all the way.
Yeah,
of course not.
For sure. Yeah, and I had one of those too. Yeah, I had one of those too for the PlayStation Classic as well. And I really enjoyed it. It was actually
it was pretty good, and it had all the art. To your point, it had like all the box art on it. It looked cool.
Yeah,
I liked the PlayStation one, the Genesis one. I think the Genesis one was a regret because I actually liked the lineup of games on the Genesis one, where the PS1, the classic, I feel like they like kind of just threw it all together, and then they had the whole like PAL versions. They just kind of messed that thing up. That thing stock was just not good.
Yeah.
It wasn't amazing. No. I had the US one, of course, and some of the games on them were pretty winners, but there's an MTS on there, and then I think there was Castlevania on there, and like as far as that stuff goes, it's like, all right, well, those two of the heaviest hitters, and then I think there wasn't Ape Escape because they didn't have the analog sticks.
Did they leave Crash Bandicoot off?
I think that was one that was missing.
Yeah. That's like, I don't know. To me, when I played, that was like one of the games that I always remember when it's PS1, I almost think Crash Bandicoot like immediately. So
right. Yeah. Well, and for me, when I think of PS1, I think of a lot of the launch titles, and
Ridge
most
Racer.
Most of those weren't on the classic either. There's no Ridge Racer. There's no Warhawk.
What was the fighting game? Battle Arena Toshinden was a launch title, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was on there though.
Was it? I don't remember.
On one of them, I think it wound up on the system. I was like, okay, that's okay. But then on the other hand, I mean, I know it's third party, but they had other third party titles on the classic. I mean, why not one of the Tekkens? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's it. That was the system that you played Tekken on. Like in my opinion, anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But
Tekken 3 was especially awesome.
Such a weird thing. But it does kind of smell like a segue though. So speaking of PS1. So let's slide on in to PS1 versus Nintendo 64. What holds up better today?
PS1, end of discussion. No.
I was about really like, bam, high five. All right.
So I'll share my thoughts, and yeah. So if you, what I'm going to say, if the N64 is your dream system and you love it, then keep playing it. But yeah. So that's something I don't have as positive things to say, and I'll tell you why. And this, no, but I want to be honest for my reasons. So I remember way back when like PS1 came out, you had like Final Fantasy VII, Tekken, the Tekkens, all these awesome arcade games you could play at home, and it looked fantastic. And I can remember even seeing like the N64 in a Toys R Us, and even seeing Mario 64. And just back then when it came out, I thought that the 3D graphics looked very crude. It didn't have the polish of the PlayStation, and with the controller and everything, I thought it was ridiculous. And then at the time, I was like, why are they still using carts? Why aren't they using CDs? Not keeping up with technology. So, for me, definitely, like, I thought PS1 had better games, more variety of games. And, I mean, it's awesome that people have nostalgia for it. But, yeah, for me personally, I don't get N64. But that's my thoughts on it.
All right. What about you, Ralph? You have a...
So, it's weird because there's like certain games that I loved the controls of the N64. Like, I don't know why I got really hooked on, for the longest time, I got really hooked on 1080, even though it's like a stupid, it's like snowboard game. Like, it worked really good with the little stick. Like, it was really cool, whatever the analog stick that's on it. But I'm kind of with you on this one. Like, even today, like even then, like when I look at it now, I'm all, wow, the transitional 3D graphics on it just look so weird to me. Even now, the only way I can play it, if I'm going to play it, it has to be on a CRT because it fills in the gaps of all the like messiness. But I feel like if you plug an N64 today into an LCD, it like totally ruins it. Like if it was bad if you thought it was okay on a CRT, it's like really bad on an LCD. So, I don't love it. Yeah, I don't love it for some reason. And I think because PlayStation, in when I got it, to your point about the discs, it seemed so like just modern with like it seemed like next generation, that I was more of a PS1 fan than I was an N64 fan. And I felt that, even though it's probably something that people are gonna get mad at me for, I felt that Mario lost its like appeal in like as a polygonal Mario. I don't know, it was just weird for me, but that's just my opinion. I don't know, I just wasn't but I struggle with the transitional stuff even now. Like when you go back and look at like the 3DO and all the games on there, and like that whole period of time that came slightly after, it got kind of weird for gaming because they didn't, 3D wasn't like baked fully yet. But I thought the PlayStation did a good job of it. Like Sega Saturn, for me, it was like a total transitional console where when I play it, sometimes I'm like, some games look awesome and some you're all, what the heck?
For sure. And for me, I'm on the PS1 camp as well.
Oh, really? Okay, we're all on the same page on this one.
We're all on the same page on this one. But the reason is I had some nostalgia for the N64 because growing up, I never had a Nintendo console in my house.
Okay.
Like so I grew up with this 2600, and then I had a 7800, and I traded an extra 7800 for a Sega Master System. And then I had that until I got a job, basically. But I went over my friend's house to experience all of the Nintendo, right? So I had deep nostalgia for Nintendo because I had a longing to go over to my friend's house and play with them, right? So all of my associations with Nintendo are all like either multiplayer or like single player experiences where it's me sitting on the couch watching my buddy, play, Zelda or Dragon Warrior or Final Fantasy 2 or any of that kind of stuff, right? So when it came to the Nintendo 64, it was finally time. It was like I could own one of these. Right, I had a job, and it was the N64, the PlayStation, and I played because I was working at a Toys R Us at the time. I could play the demo whenever I wanted. Right, I could go in there and I was playing the demos for Star Fox. I was playing the demos for Mario. I was playing the demos for F-Zero, even Pilot Wings, and it was like, oh, these games are pretty cool. and there was a sort of charm in the 3D Mario for me, and I was like, okay, I could kind of get down with this. But then I went over a friend's house and played on his PlayStation, and then I played Twisted Metal and Warhawk and Battle Arena to Shinden in one afternoon, and it just went so much. I was like, what is that? What is this? All like, I have to have this. I have to have it. And that's what it just sealed the deal. I was this close to buying like my very first Nintendo system, and I'd had so much nostalgia from my youth. Like, I could finally own one of these. Yeah. And then it was just like, nope, I'm getting the PlayStation. And I did. I got the PlayStation, and then and then it went on a completely different adventure, because then I found all the RPGs, and it was over. Yeah, over.
Well, every 10 good games on a 64, 100 compared to PS1. Yeah.
I did love 007 though. Like that was, but I think that's everyone liked that. At the time, it seemed like, oh wow. And with multiplayer, the way it would split the screen up, like that was kind of neat. But I didn't have that. My friend had it, and I was like, oh, this is fun. So when I went there, I did look forward to playing that. But it wasn't like, I guess because it was kind of like the thing, like you were saying, it was like we played it at his house, so I wasn't like missing out. I was like, oh well, unless you can show me like a ton more games that are cool, I don't really need to have this.
Right.
So, exactly. That's
which I can't believe I had that self-control, but I guess I did.
But you know what's funny though, because every video that you watch like on a handheld device, that seems to be the one thing people ask, going to do N64, and I almost feel like people want to see N64 to be emulated just because it's difficult. I don't know.
But it could be like an age thing too. I don't know how close all of us are in age. I think if you like, let's say, like we probably grew up with older consoles, so we were older. We were a little bit older when we got to those. So I think maybe if that was like your first console, then you'd naturally have some crazy nostalgia for it, because to you that was like your first entryway into gaming. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. Just like arcade gaming is the same way. Like I have friends that are 10 years older than me that like they're like, oh my gosh, Wizard of War is my favorite game, and I'm like, oh, it's good, but it's not my favorite. How can you call it your favorite? Like, because I played it as a kid. I'm like, oh, okay.
That was the card I had for that 1 year, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has so much to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, me talking with, I work in education, right? So, I walk into, like a random classroom, and I talk to the kids there. And they ask me sometimes, it's like, oh, what are your favorite games? So then when I start talking to them about like Berserk and Air Sea Battle and like all these like classic Atari 2600 games, they're like, what?
Yeah, they'd be like, what? And they probably would be like, why would you want to play that? I mean, because my son, when he sees the early stuff, he's just like, this isn't even a game. Like he doesn't even think it's a game. He's like, what is this?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, but then like, you guys don't understand. I played this for hours. Like, this was it. This was summertime for me. Like I'd come in, I'd pop a card in, and then that's it. like Space Invaders or any of those great Atari games. And that was it for me.
Like,
and then
when did it become cool to hate? Like I remember playing for hours and hours, even though I didn't know what I was doing, E.T. And then it became like cool to say that game sucked so bad. But as a kid, I actually didn't think it sucked at all. Like I was having fun with it.
Yeah, I still don't think it sucks, because my nostalgia, when it goes, that particular game goes in my head, I remember that was the first game I ever completed. It was the first game in the Atari Pantheon that I ever played that actually had an ending. Like you land, you go do your objective, you call home, you go home, and then the game ends, and you're like, wow, it's not a score chase loop. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was cool.
That's all I had in my entire youth. I was like, everyone started hating on ET later on, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like,
that was the one game I hated on as a kid, because I just found it frustrating getting stuck in the pit. I couldn't get out, getting moved back. Then to find out that it was bugged, I was like, I didn't know, and I played it at a buddy's house, but I felt like that game was rigged against me. I'm like, I can't do anything. So
I had one friend that was like very I don't know, like he was really good at like puzzle solving and he remembered screens and it was weird. Like even when you played Zelda with him, he could like at that age speed run Zelda, like not speed run it, but he memorized everything. And so sometimes when I was stuck, it was one of those things where I was lucky to have a friend that he's like, have you tried this or have you tried that? Like he wouldn't fully tell me how to do it, but he was like kind of like, hey man, you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome, but it's not gonna change. So just do this and this, and it would. So like, I don't know if I didn't have him as a friend growing up, I don't know if I would have liked the game because he's the one that kind of like guided me through ET. So maybe
Oh, nice.
I would hate it. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it really does boil down to personal experience, especially for that one.
Yeah.
I will say though, there's somebody out there that I think likes ET more than anyone ever. There's a website where they broke down the entire like structure of how the game is laid out.
Really?
Yeah, and they understood exactly how the map is drawn, and there's actually like there's a pattern. There's a very specific pattern to how all of like the pit levels appear. And like navigating to the north and south will actually change your perspective to the forest to what they called Washington D.C., which is silly, but it's like that blue. It was. Is
it overwhelmingly big? Like, is it an overwhelmingly big map when it's laid out, or is it actually not that bad?
It is. It's. Here's the crazy part. It's a D6. It's a die.
Oh, really?
There's only.
I gotta check this out. You're gonna have to send me this or something because I have to check that out.
There's only 4 pit levels, and they go around in a like the numbers, like the face numbers, and then the top and the bottom. The top is the forest, and the bottom is where Elliot's house, the FBI agent's house, and the hospital is.
Oh, that's crazy. If I Google like ET map, will it come up or something? Or
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'll put it. I'll find it. I'll put it in the private chat.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And then did you say, Rich, you were going to do a video and show like how to beat that game and play through it? Like that would be.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
I definitely intend to do so. And
that'd be so cool.
The only thing I needed was to find a copy of that game. And since we're on the topic, I think I don't know where it is. It's probably buried in here somewhere.
Or just emulate it. Either way.
Oh no.
It said the Crow Continuum said it's totally only millennials for the most part that prefer the N64.
yes, yeah, no,
very true, very true.
Yeah,
because my brother would be a millennial and he loves the N64. Like if you said what's your favorite console, it would be like instantly N64. So I think it's all what you grew up with, right?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And I totally respect that. I mean, I would never. That's why I say, if you like that console, what I'm about to say, I would never take away that happiness from anybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, of course. Yeah, and everyone's gonna have it.
There's another interesting comment in here too. Someone asked if any of you guys had a Vectrex. I knew someone that had one, but I didn't have one. I don't know if I think that console's really cool actually, but I didn't have one.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever played it? Like even on water?
I've never seen one, but I heard it's like super cool.
I never knew it existed until I saw a video. Yeah, it looks great.
Vectrex almost like it seems like when you play it now, it's still like got this weird futuristic style. I think it's vector monitors. They're just so weird in how they look. I don't know. There's something like even if you play like Tempest on a real, modern, not a modern, but like in modern times, play Tempest on a real vector monitor. Just there's something about it that looks so different. I don't know. It's just vector games are cool. But I would love to buy one. The thing is, they're so expensive now. Like people charge a lot for them.
For sure.
Yeah, I would imagine that's something that you probably you have to have the physical hardware. Like to emulate is probably not nearly the same thing as the.
You can't. Yeah, you really can't. Like, I mean, I know Star Wars was a vector game, and they released the Star Wars, arcade 1-up, and they did an okay job. Like, I mean, that's probably one of their best ones, but they did a good job trying to emulate the idea that it's vector graphics. But yeah, it's really hard to reproduce that without the actual hardware for it, for sure. Yeah, someone says you had to put film colors on the screen. Yeah, they had screens that went over. Like if you're playing a different game, you put a different film on. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Because isn't it just light? Like it's just light that flashes in certain spots, and so the overlay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it looks cool. Now I want one.
Yeah, right. We go hunt one down.
That's hilarious.
I'm hoping to see, because sometimes they'll bring like retro stuff like that to different conventions, and for the first time in a really long time, I'm actually going to go to one. I'm going to Too Many Games.
Cool.
At the end of next month, and I'm hoping that somebody maybe has like a booth and they're like, oh, here's my Vectrex. And
yeah,
awesome.
they had one at Southern Fried Gaming Expo last year in Atlanta. They had a lot of stuff. They had a whole there's some like local Atlanta like retro computer sort of organization or something. They had a whole room of, so not only did they have like the Vectrex and all the older consoles, but they had a whole room of like old school computers. Like they had IBM XTs, they had Texas Instruments, they had Tandies, like everything, any computer you could ever think of. It was so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
No kidding.
A kid brought one to school back in the 5th grade. What, a Vectrex? That's cool.
Yeah, that's what
Imagine that.
I'm assuming that's what it was, but
Yeah.
That'd be rad. That's the
so cool.
greatest show and tell ever.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Do you guys ever remember there was this console? It's super weird, and I have no idea why my mom bought it. It must have been like on clearance or something. And I think it's called the Power Max or something. And it was a light gun that you hooked up to your VCR, and you played these tapes. Do you guys? Does this make?
Yeah. Well,
I have
you know what I'm
something
talking
vaguely
about?
familiar. Yeah.
yeah.
It was gray. The whole console was gray, and it had a gray light gun. And you'd play I just remember one of the games had like fighter jets, and the fighter jets would have like these sections that would glow, and that's what you had to shoot.
Yeah.
It was super weird.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So there.
Action Max. That's it. Action Max.
Yeah. Action Max. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So I saw like a video about that later on in life, but there was another toy / game product. I think they even tied it to like a TV show.
Okay.
And that they had, it was like a spaceship, and
Really?
it was called Captain Power.
This
And they
sounds
came with
familiar to me.
VHS tapes, and you put like the figure in the ship, and then like you basically do this exact same thing as the Action Max.
Gosh, I think I know what you're talking about.
But it's such a cool design to both the ships and like the way that you would like hold the ship, because it basically had a handle, like you would move it around like it was a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. It was cheesy though, like the
Oh my gosh,
the
I had
videos were
this. I'm
cheesy.
looking at it. I totally had this thing.
So check
Yeah.
this out.
I
Yeah, I'm
had
sharing.
that too. Yeah.
Here's the commercial here. We could.
Oh, the Action Max. Nice.
Did I not hit play? Oh yeah, it would help if I hit play. But yeah, I saw the thumbnail and I'm like, I'll recognize this.
Yeah, and I think this is the game I played because it was like a.
Yeah, you said VCR. I'm like, that sounds familiar. And then when I saw like the thumbnail for this, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, there it is. Those things would light up, and that's what you would shoot. Yeah, it was so weird. Yeah, and you had to put that stupid thing on your TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just cover part of the screen with it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I can only think that, like, I don't know that I would have asked for it. So I'm thinking it must have been one of those things where it was like on clearance or something. And I was like, he likes games. We'll get him the Action Max. Like, I don't know. I don't ever remember asking for it. But the thing you talked about brings back crazy memories, because I forgot about that Captain Power thing. And I totally had that. It was a ship that was like a gun, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that thing was awesome.
It was cool. Now I want to buy that.
I want to
that probably costs a ton,
That's what I
right?
was like, video.
Absolutely. And I want to say, like, wasn't there a thing inside of like the ship where if you put him in there and you died, didn't he like
I
eject?
thought
or
he
something?
ejected. Yeah, I thought he popped out.
Yeah, that's how you knew you lost, and you're like, oh. You had
I
to
wonder
punch
how
him
you'd play that today. So you'd need a VCR and a CRT.
and a CRT. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I'd be shocked
man.
if to find a working one, but maybe they're I bet they're super expensive. But I totally remember that. Oh my gosh. That
Yeah.
would bring back some pretty cool memories. You know those things that you don't like fully remember until you see them again, and then you're all, oh my gosh, it all comes back. I think that would be one of those things. I can't believe you even mentioned that. I can't believe I never even thought of it at all, because I definitely had one. That's crazy. Now I want one. Now I need to.
Yeah,
like,
no,
Yeah.
I'm like totally like my eBay trigger finger is itching right now. Like,
Yeah, this will make you guys want it even more.
yes, there it is.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I had the white one.
Yeah, so did I.
I didn't know there was a different colored one actually, but
Yeah, as soon as I saw the thumbnail, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was like cool for a time. Kind of like a laser tag, yeah.
Yeah.
they're not making it seem that cool in the commercial though.
It's like reverse selling.
Yeah, like I guess then I would have said that was cool, but
That's awesome.
yeah, VCR is one retro thing I never went back and bought. I don't own a VCR.
Okay.
Oh,
I had
don't.
an old Sony that I was using for capture, because it's like one of the only ways you can get capture off of some of the early consoles, like a 2600 or an Intellivision. Because I mean, what
you
has
go in through the
analog,
you go in through the RF or something.
Yeah, you go through the RF and then out via the
out
AV
component out
Yeah.
composite, right?
Composite,
You go out composite, yeah. Huh.
Mhm.
I need to get one.
so I can remember like just like
Yeah.
5 years ago, you could find them like at a Salvation Army or like their stores. Now they're super expensive.
Yeah.
But I think my wife, like her dad actually like picked this one up like at an estate sale or something for just like a couple bucks, like next to nothing, and it works. Like, you know, so
That's cool.
yeah, you can find them. And it amazes me, just like 5 years ago, you could find like CRTs, you could find all this stuff, and like now it's like this doesn't exist. Now DVD players you can find, you know, but no one wants those.
CRTs all of a sudden like really blew up. Like you can't even. I had bought a bunch of PVMs when they were kind of just affordable to buy. I say a bunch. I have like 4 of them, but they were like, you know, I bought the smaller ones, and it was funny because I kind of didn't like, I wasn't going out looking for them, so I didn't really know what they were worth. And then I think I wanted one for a video. I bought the old Atari. I can't remember the name of the game. Stunt Cycle. I bought this little Stunt Cycle thing, and I was like, oh, this would be really cool to have like a larger one to hook it up to. And then I looked at the prices. I was like, oh my gosh, like these actually went up like crazy. I just didn't know. Like to buy a CRT now, you can't just like go pick one up for super cheap. It's almost like even people that don't know, they'll put stuff like great for retro gaming, and then they try to sell them for more because they'll go look, right, and then they'll see that the prices are higher. At least around here, you can't get them for cheap anymore, really.
Yeah. I remember like 5 years ago, people would like give them to you for free, just like take them away.
Yeah, they
like
just
now.
say take it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't want this heavy thing in my house anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, we all need to invent a time machine.
I know, seriously. We'll hoard CRTs.
Yeah.
And I had oh man, that's a owner's regret. I used to work at a Circuit City, and when the CRTs were like kind of dying out, Zenith, because they were still around, made a flat screen CRT that was 720p.
Oh, really?
And it had all the analog components, inputs, and an HDMI.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know there was any CRTs with HDMI
on
input.
a CRT.
That's crazy.
And it was like, I have to have, and I bought it. I bought the floor model. The thing was absurdly heavy. Anytime we needed to move it, it was always 2 people, because the thing weighed, I don't know, 125 pounds or something like that. It was insane how big this thing was. And the screen was 27 inch, but it was 27 inch, but it was ready for like widescreen. So it wasn't full 16:9. It was kind of like this weird, like elongated rectangle.
Huh.
You still got bars when you played letterbox video, but yeah, it was an awesome TV.
Dude, that'd be the perfect TV for retro gaming.
I loved that thing, and then I forget what happened to it. I had it when I was in Philadelphia, and I moved, and I don't know, maybe it broke, or I don't know what happened to it. But
you just blanked that out of your brain. You're like, I
don't want to know what happened to it, because I want it now.
Yeah.
It's so crazy when you go back and play something on a good CRT, though. You're like, wow, this looks so much. It's almost like you realize how good it actually can look. You know, when you play it on a CRT, you're like, man, this looks so good. You forget.
Yeah, those were the days, right? Getting the Goodwill.
Yeah, they don't have any at Goodwill anymore, at least not around here.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe they'll get them from time to time, but I'm sure if they do, I feel like Goodwill's now become this thing where if people are into hobbyists, they like scour Goodwill's. Like it's now known because of all like retro gaming hunters and stuff. Like they'll go and like there used to be good games at them, and now like there's people that literally make it their like they resell, so they just go and scour all the stores all the time. So
yeah, but oh man, like I'm still thinking about that.
you're gonna dream about your CRT tonight.
that got the power.
I'm finding that. You will see a video on it. I'm gonna find it somehow.
Nice.
Dude,
unless it's crazy price, then no. But
yeah, it's oh man,
that'll be great.
That's totally cool.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome if I could get it to work because I have a young son. He's turning 6 tomorrow actually, and put him in front of that. And be like, here, play this for a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he thinks.
Just see what he would do. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
It's like, what is this? I swear you're right, though. I think the guy popped out. I think it showed it on the commercial that we just played, but I'm pretty sure he popped out when he ejected if you died. Yeah. Which made it kind of cool. It reminds me of around that time period, there was also this weird thing. I don't remember what it was called. It was like a baseball game, but like you put. It was like that too. Like somehow the characters interacted with the field. I don't know. It was weird. It was like they were chipped or so. I don't know. They probably weren't chipped. I don't know how it worked, but like you'd put your player on there and it'd like audibly say the name of the player. It'd be like, so-and-so's up at bat. And I was like, well, how does it even... Yeah, I don't remember. I had a friend that was like really into baseball, and I remember him like being like, let's play this baseball game. And you'd pick a character, and when you put it on there, it would know you're that character. I can't remember if it was... Maybe it was card based. I can't remember, but it was something like that where like at that time they were working with like half electronics, half like still mechanical kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
It's like the early version of Amiibos. You put in the card and it reads.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's magical even to me now. When I first saw those, I was like, whoa, how does it know?
Yeah. That's awesome. That kind of reminds me actually like of in the PS3 era. There was that game Eye of Judgment where it came with a camera. It came with the iToy camera. And you would get these decks of cards that were actually, I think they were printed by Wizards because they make Magic. And you'd get these packs and, so you'd open them up, you build a deck, and then how you play is almost like Yu-Gi-Oh, where you'd put the card in front of the camera, and then on the game screen on your television, it would read the card, and then like a character would come out of the card, and then it would do battle
that's cool.
Opponents' characters. Yeah, it was neat.
That's
they did
pretty cool.
They did like 2 or 3 sets of that. And then of course, people were like, oh, well, if you could just go to this website, you could just print all the QR codes for the camera and then just put the camera, just put the cards, like just pieces of paper that you print in front of the camera. It would still work. And then they stopped making the game, but
that's crazy.
Oh man,
it was still neat. It was
that
fun.
killed it.
Yeah. But it was pretty cool. Oh, thanks, Rigatoni. Yeah. It's gonna be good. 6 is gonna be a fun age. I can feel it. 5 was fun. 5 was super fun.
6 is fun, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's cool. So I mean, I know before we started the show, you said you only hang out for about an hour. Here we are, about an hour and a half. So I want to be respectful of your time.
I'm getting notified that I need to be.
We're on rough time. I don't know how many times he's gone live and like I'll just stream for 10 minutes and then like an hour and a half later, it's like I gotta go. Yeah. No, I was wondering about that.
So yeah, I mean, we'll obviously hold all of our other topics and whatnot.
Real quick.
Yes.
Real quick, Ralph, before we go, can you, so we can someone add you to the intro, can you give us a calling all retro gamers?
Just say calling all retro gamers?
We got it! No,
all right. Do you want me to do it right now?
Yeah, can we?
Yeah, sure. You know what? Let me. Are you gonna put him up full screen?
How do are you?
Yeah. So we're gonna leave again. Would give us a calling all retro gamers. That'd be awesome. Thank you. Because we're gonna actually add you to the intro. We're trying to do that with every guest. So all right, hold on just a second.
right, I'm going to do it now. Calling all retro gamers.
Awesome.
That was perfect. Okay.
Yes, thank you. That was
Sweet.
really cool. That was.
You
are unique.
This
Those
was
are my-
fun,
those are-
guys. This was a blast. I loved
Those are
all
my
the
grandparents,
topics.
by the way. Well,
Was it really?
It was from their 50th wedding anniversary. I mean, they've been deceased for some time, but yeah, I found some good little clips for that.
Oh,
And
that's
when I
really
told
cool.
Rich like that, like blew him away.
That's awesome. Yes, yeah, he had that. He has this one quote from his grandfather. He talks about money. It said, you know, like, and he used to play it all the time, like doing in our other show on the Evercast where we were talking about Evercade, and I thought for sure it was a clip that was like, oh, this is a meme. Okay, I just don't know this meme, but it's actually his grandfather.
Do you
It's
have
awesome.
Yeah, you mean this one? Yeah.
Hell, it's only money, as Rockefeller said.
I would have thought that was like made up too. That's awesome.
that was like so just real quick. That was like after they're like a week later, a family member like filmed my grandparents, and he was like, they were talking about like how they had to like pay for it themselves, but they didn't care because it's only money, and they enjoyed having family. And so yeah, I ripped out that snippet.
Oh man, that's really cool that you have all that.
It is.
That'd be really neat to. I know my uncle said that he has a lot of this footage from that my grandfather filmed, but it was on he transferred it from. It's like he transferred it from. It wouldn't have existed on VHS, I don't think, but he transferred it to VHS and then to like Super 8 maybe. So I got to get a Super 8 player, but I don't know. My grandfather was like he was like really into camera technology. So every time something new would happen, he'd like go do the generational movement. So I'm kind of like, wow, that must have taken a ton of work to do because my uncle's like, yeah, the footage looks really bad. I was like, yeah, because he transferred it like 6 times. It's like crazy, but I want to go to try to find it because I bet I'd have some cool things like that too. That's neat that you have that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
It's totally awesome. I instantly think of like Adam Goldberg, right? That was a total like Goldberg's moment. You know, because he has all those things that he continues to show, even, you know, like every episode he's got some kind of clip. And it's like, that's just so cool. That's so cool. So, but yeah, so, you know, thanks so much, Ralph, for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was so fun. This was
Good,
so
dude.
fun.
Well,
I could do
I'll
this
be back
again.
again. This was surreal. This was awesome. Again, for those of you who missed it in the beginning of the show.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Dude, this has been awesome. Yeah, this was so much fun. This was yes.
I love this stuff because like I feel like I'm always talking about, and obviously I did a little bit, but I feel like I'm always talking about arcade games, so it's fun to talk about console stuff because I love that stuff. I just don't talk about it as much, and I think a lot of the people I interact with don't talk about it as much either. So it's kind of refreshing to switch it up and talk about something else.
Nice. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, we'll definitely have to have you back sometime, and we'll talk more consoles or whatever.
Sure.
Absolutely, yes.
I would love to hang out longer, but I think I've overextended. I have to go now, but I appreciate it so much, guys. Thank you. Like this was really, really fun. And it was so
awesome.
It was so nice to meet you guys
coming.
both as like in, well, I say physical form, but you know what I'm saying.
Hey, who knows? Maybe someday.
Yes, and likewise, yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, awesome.
Thanks again. Okay. And thanks everybody watching as well.
All right. Awesome. That was too cool.
Yep, that was awesome.
And you're right. Yeah, we have to get all of our guests back. You know, like, and you know, just do like check-ins with them and hang out some more. Because it was super cool.
We will. Well, I guess there's only one thing left to say. Well, we created content. Thanks for watching. Bye.
See you guys.
Calling all retro gamers.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.